What if an artist like Salvador Dalí painted one of the most epic yet ironic portraits of you, while you are so popular among your circle of friends, who are by chance the most famous fashion designers of the 20th century, to the point that you are the muse to someone like Balenciaga. You are regularly off the Vogue papers and the inspiration behind the novel's main characters. You may think that all of this happened to you just because everything about you is simply catching and glamorous. Well, you may be right and may be wrong. If you think about it more, it is not that simple and not that easy. It is not a very typical way of living. They are not everyday life events. So what could be so fascinating and amusing about you? Perhaps not a regular normal life. Mona von Bismarck had a quiet, dynamic lifestyle. She had been to many social events while traveling between Europe and America to meet various like-minded people with quite the same fashion tastes. So living in both New York and Paris, the fashion hubs of the 20th century, allowed her to meet and make friends with people like Paul Newman, Grace Kelly, Diana Vreeland, and the Duchess of Windsor. And we should trace the origins of her unique story in her early life events. In 1926, she got married to William Harrison. To celebrate this marriage and for their honeymoon, they cruised on Warrior, William's yachts, the largest and most expensive yacht at the time. But it was just the beginning of their extravagant lifestyle. Soon the couple decided to spend their time in a mansion in New York, a property called Oak Point in Bayville, on Long Island North Shore, a home in Palm Beach, and the Villa El Fortino in Capri. Without a doubt, it required a lot of energy to carefully pay attention to every detail of your different properties, but her love for beauty and art had her rigidly take care of her houses. She even worked with many interior designers and decorators like Goya, Fragonard, Siri Mogem, and Jose Maria Sert to help her in decorating her houses. Apparently, she was so careful about every detail, from importing magnolia trees and roses from different places of the world for her garden, to getting fresh water from mainland Italy to take care of them. It made no one surprised at all. After all, these houses would host many of their influential friends, politicians, artists, and designers. Visiting their generous and fancy hostess's house was always a delight. People talked about her parties for years. In one of these visits, Jacqueline Kennedy once described it as a world of serenity and beauty that affected everyone so deeply. People came and left for the frequent visits. The family was very well known, and the lady who hosted them caught everyone's eyes with what Vogue described as the New York phenomenon. Her extraordinary cat-like eyes and blue-gray hair, and more importantly, her fashion and dresses were famous as high art. Soon, her extravagant lifestyle and unique taste in fashion became a hot topic in newspapers and made her a headliner in many gazettes. And that was why she was the first American to be named the best dressed woman in the world by Coco Chanel, Melania, Vianney, Lelang, and Lanvin, an honorable title that later was given to the Duchess of Windsor and Elsie de Wolfe. When we talk about her spectacular taste, we should be careful about the way she delicately opted for the items and how she later became trendsetter of the decade. This one quality, which even not many modern people have, hand in hand with her stunning image, her blue eyes with her silver hair, taking the breath away of her admirers, was so influential to put her at the center of attentions in many social circles. Her favorite colors were pink and green, indicating her colorful taste and enthusiasm for bold style. And this justified the fact that many of her close friends regarded her as a very careful and selective person, because you must not go wrong with bold colors. She had many epic dresses and pieces from high-end brands that their designers were also her close friends. She owned spectacular pieces such as a Balenciaga violet dress with a hem dipped at the back and another full-length coat from the designer appliqued with pink organza petals and green silk taffeta leaves. She also had a fuchsia blazer with sunburst buttons from Schiaparelli. While she was loyal to her signature elegance, she was not far from the trends. She went in white and ivory look just after Chanel black dresses took all over the world, the designer brand whom she already had many pieces from, such as a velvet skirt suit with a white ruffled collar. But dresses were not her only weapons to make people amazed by her beauty. She had a great passion for fine jewelry, letting her build a marvelous jewelry collection. She had magnificent pieces from Cartier, such as this Art Deco brooch that dates back to 1925, with its beautiful jadeite, onyx, ruby, and diamond. In her collection, there was another piece by Cartier, a very gorgeous sapphire necklace with 12 baguettes and round brilliant cut diamonds, and this very classy 2-strand pearl necklace that she probably wore for her formal events. But she had another stunning piece, very amazing on its own terms, and it is this antique pearl and diamond serpent necklace. You may not know, but the serpent was a mythical creature, a symbol of both healing and destruction, functioning as a symbol for the god of healing and also Medusa, who could turn men to stone with just one look. Like this unique mythical piece, almost all of her jewelry pieces had some sort of secret, something more like a tradition among fashionistas of the 20th century. She had her jewelry designed many times during her lifetime to follow the fashion trends. So if you look at her beautiful photographs taken in the 20s or 30s, you may be successful at finding the original designs of them, as there are many photos of her taken by her admirers and friends at the time. She was the favorite subject for her photographer friend Cecil Beaton, who described her as one of the few outstanding beauties of the 30s, representing the epitome of all that taste and luxury. And that is certainly a thing. Thanks to her superior fashion interests and love for aesthetics, the reputation of her beauty and elegance spread on both sides of the Atlantic. By the early 1930s, her name, image, and reputation entered the world of music and cinema. Cole Porter included her name in song lyrics. She was mentioned in movies too. In a scene from the American musical Riding High, Ethel Merman literally sang, "What do I care if Mrs. Harrison Williams is the best dressed woman in town?" You could find her in books, and certainly there was no single person not knowing about her. She became more and more confident, so Mona bravely commissioned the surrealist painter Salvador Dalí to paint her portrait. Dalí was at the time the most famous and celebrated artist. Mona's decisions to have him paint her portrait was perhaps misguided. The famous The Kentucky Countess was finished and ready, but there was a problem. A very big, giant, fat problem. Dalí actually painted her naked. Well, he had a special skill in depicting brutal truth in his surrealist paintings, and he wasn't about to spare Mona. Mona found it insulting. She was furious and asked him to dress her, and his response was to paint black rags. The oil painting shows her with a glowing visage and maroon-tinted lips, surrounded by pyramids and mortared San Sebastian. Her hands are just curiously curled up around her chest, as though she was carrying something, but her hands are empty. In an all-black sack with dualistic illusions in an unusual space, depicting her in a place where a vivid line lies between reality and lies. Art critics believe that it is a reference to the son of Mona. I do not like to use the word, but they refer to it as sold in her first divorce in exchange for money. But after fixing what made her mad, she kept the portrait on view all her life. Perhaps she was not riled by his irony. When Harrison Williams died at Oak Point, she married Edward, Count von Bismarck. They moved to Europe, and in 1956, they purchased a Hotel Particulier in Paris at 34th Avenue de New York. She completely redecorated it too. It was like this aesthetic lover injected a part of her soul into her surroundings and lived her entire life with grace. These are the feelings that made no room to call her phony and attention seeker. She was always resplendent in her jewels and beautiful gowns. She had this great love for gardening, keeping an eye on her gardens and houses in Paris and Capri. So as a hostess, she was admired by guests such as Maria Callas and Winston Churchill and Aristotle Onassis. The fashion lover she was, the most heartbroken moment of her life had not arrived till a day in 1968 when she heard the news. The atelier of Cristóbal Balenciaga was closed for good. As Diana Rylan said, it was the day that she was so morbid that she did not even leave her bedroom for 3 days. She aged and her eyesight began to fail. She retired from social events, and you can imagine how hard it was for a person with characteristics the same as Mona's. She died in 1983 at the age of 86 and was buried in a Givenchy gown. But she made a great request in her will. She wanted the establishment of the Mona Bismarck Foundation, an organization that funded the Mona Bismarck American Center in Paris, with the proceeds from the sales of her estates. This institution was renamed to American Center for Art and Culture in 2019 and was unwound in 2022 with proceeds and assets going to the American Library in Paris. That is the end, but it is good to know before her death, she gave many pieces, including several paintings, to the museums and cultural societies, as well as some items of her unique jewelry collection to the Smithsonian Institution, including the Bismarck Sapphire Necklace. Perhaps she thought people could feel the same joy of looking at these beautiful pieces, like once she did during her lifetime. This is the end. If this episode sparks something in you, you already know where it goes. Till the next time, watch this episode.